Hi golfers, Nick here from GOLFTEC Singapore. In today's video, I'm going to help you golfers out there with the shoulder bend in the finish. So in recent weeks, I've taken a look at the GOLFTEC Swing Tru motion study. If you've seen those videos, I've talked about the tilt, the turn and the bend of the body at various positions in the golf swing. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the bend of the shoulders in the finish position to help you extend the body and hit the ball further. Over the years, GOLFTEC has measured thousands of different golfers, some of the best players in the world and the highest handicappers, and there's a strong correlation between what the best players do and what the highest handicappers do. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what the best players do with the shoulder bend in the finish compared to the highest handicappers. As you can see, I've got the sensors that we wear at GOLFTEC. So the shoulder bend is measuring how much forward or backwards you're bending in the golf swing. By the time we get to the finish position, there's a strong correlation here between what the best players do and the highest handicappers. So the best players are actually bending back 32 degrees with their shoulders in the finish position. It's like the classic PGA Tour finish, whereas the highest handicappers are only bending back like 3 degrees. So big difference there between the bend, and you can see in the chart here the strong correlation between the highest handicappers and the best players in the world. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how that affects the golf swing and how you can change your shoulder bend to help you play better golf. One of the most common positions I see in the follow through are when golfers sort of lean in towards the target, almost follow the golf ball down the range. It's one of the weakest ways to hit the golf ball. And what also that does, it causes that golfer to flex their arm. So if you're one of those golfers that flexes their arms, hits the ball low, doesn't hit it very far, then this is a really good drill that I'm going to show you today to help you improve your golf. So like I said there, the best golfers in the world, by the time they get to the finish, their shoulder bend is 32 degrees backwards. So it's not exactly about the number to get it perfect, that's just an average of what the best players do in the world. The point being that the better the golfer, the more backwards their bend is. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you some details to help you get into that position and share a great drill to help you improve your follow through position and help you keep your arm straight. So when we take a look at this finish position of the best players, so they're 32 degrees backwards with their shoulders. Their hip bend, so the hip bend sensor is also measuring how the hips bend in the golf swing. So they bend forward and they bend backwards. So by the time the best players get to the finish, their shoulder bend is 32 and their hip bend is actually 2 degrees backwards. So I'm not leaning back like this. I think this is where a lot of people can misinterpret this position in the finish. We're not trying to get golfers to lean back like this. We actually need that golfer to, as they go through to the finish, to pretty much straighten their legs as they go through. I see a lot of golfers as they go through, they're sort of flexing their knees and turning too much and bending, whereas the best players, they extend out of that forward bend in the downswing into an extension of the spine in the finish, which is a great way to create speed, shallow out the angle of attack, and help keep the arm straight to improve the structure of your golf swing. So over my time at GOLFTEC, I've worked on this position a lot with golfers because so many golfers are sort of this sort of motion into the finish, whereas the best players will be striking the ground and extending the body. So to change this position, it's not an easy thing to fix, but there's a way and a step-by-step process that you can go through to try and improve this position. So the first thing I'd want you to do is just take your normal setup, and then from the setup position, instead of making a backswing, what I want you to do is just push forward into the finish. So by the time I get to that finish position, you can see here, my legs are almost straight, my belt buckle is slightly backwards, but my shoulder bend is backwards. And then in the finish position, you look from the other viewpoint here, you can see I'm turned, hand position is just below my shoulder here. So you can see from both angles that how my body's extending and turning into the finish. Now from the front on view, you'll see how my head has actually moved forward, and so have my hips. My hips have actually moved more forward than my head position. This is going to help me extend my body. This is quite important when you're practicing this move, that you have to make sure your hips are pushing forward and your legs are straightening as you do this move into the finish. So you see too many golfers flexing like this. So to start with, we start from setup position and we extend the legs, lean backwards into the finish. But the point being, my head position didn't move backwards as I did that. I continually move forward, more so with my hips. My head moves slightly towards the target as well. So that gives you the feel of how the body should be in the finish position. So get some videos of you doing that just to make sure you're doing it, or you do it in a mirror. That would be a really good way to check that you're doing the right movements. So you can see from both angles there how that should look in the finish. So the next step to this drill would be to encourage a very short backswing to literally position 2 where the shaft's parallel, and then moving into the finish. So same finish position that we just practiced, but now we're just practicing a tiny backswing just to incorporate that feel into the swing. And then when you're ready, we can start to hit some shots. So just a P2, which is shaft parallel, and then extend into the finish. So the next step to the drill would be to make some swings now to shaft parallel position 2, and just try and get that same finish. Leg straightening, shoulder bend backwards, and when you're ready, we can start to hit some shots. So I'm just going to go to P2 and then bend backwards into the finish. So this is a really good way to help you keep your arms straight. I think this is a really good way to shallow out the angle of attack. So I hit downwards there 3.5 degrees. I see too many golfers that stay bent forward. They hit very steep on the ball, take big divots. Also, the more you stay down on the ball or forward bend, the more that club path actually moves from out to in. So this is a good way of shallowing out an angle of attack and keeping the club path working on the inside. So let's go again. So P2, and then extend into the finish, keeping the arms straight. So when you're videoing your swing, make sure you're moving your body forward, the hips a little bit more than the shoulders, and keeping the arms straight into the finish. So that's a really good way to sort of start to progress this drill. So once you feel comfortable with just swinging to P2 and getting the shoulder bend and you're videoing yourself and it looks pretty good, the next step would be to go to P3 and try and get the same finish position. So this is going to be a little bit tougher now because we're swinging this a little bit faster. This is not going to be far off a full swing in terms of the length the club travels. So this is going to be a little harder. So this is why it's important that when you're practicing this, you're getting the feedback on the video. So that time there felt pretty good. So I went up to left arm parallel position 3 and then just swung through, tried to recreate that same finish position. It's really important when you're practicing this, you get that feedback on the video to make sure you're doing it right. Let's go one more. So position 3, left arm parallel. For some of you, it's going to probably feel like you're only swinging to here, but it will be a bit further. That felt really good. Nice and straight as well. So it's a good way of really improving the contact, shallowing out the angle of attack. So with an 8-iron there I'm using, hit 4.5 degrees downwards. My club path was 4.9 degrees from in to out. So good numbers that I expect with an 8-iron. And speed-wise, still pretty good. 77 miles an hour, just swinging up to here and through into the finish. So that's how you progress the drill. Okay, you have to try and do a step-by-step process. So you go step 1, just start from setup. Make sure you're doing that right. And like I said, use a mirror or video. Step 2, swing to shaft parallel position 2 and through. And then step 3, swing to P3 and through into the finish. So we're starting in basically 3 different steps of the process. We start at P1, which is set up and follow through. Then we start at P2 or swing to P2 and follow through at step 2. And then step 3 is swing to P3, left arm parallel, and swing through to the finish. So 3 steps to the drill. And each time, just make sure you're videoing your swing and making sure you're doing the right thing. So a couple of key checkpoints there. Make sure your hips are pushing forward. Make sure your arms are straight. Make sure you're bending backwards. And also make sure that your head doesn't move backwards as you do this drill. That's really important. So simple 3-step process there to help you improve your shoulder bend in the finish. If you want to find out a little bit more about GOLFTEC, check out this playlist. And I'll see you again soon for another video.